I reviewed the DJI Ronin 4D in November 2021 and a follow-up video about improvements 3 months later. This was for the 6K camera. The 8K camera was supposed to come out soon after. Well, it took 2 years, but it finally arrived. Was it worth the wait? Yes. It has a gorgeous image and some high frame rates I didn't expect. In this video, I will explain the pros and cons of the 8K versus the 6K camera. But spoiler alert, the 8K outperforms it in almost every way, with some caveats. I won't go into full detail about everything the Ronin 4D system does. I've already done that in my 2 super in-depth videos. Please watch those if you want to know more about all the features. DJI hired me to assess the new camera's image quality. They must have been confident knowing how hard I am to please. The X9 8K footage you will see throughout was all shot with the camera on a tripod. There are a couple of reasons for this. Firstly, this is all about assessing the quality of the image, and it's a lot easier to do that with the camera on a tripod. Secondly, the Ronin 4D is heavy and my back has gotten pretty bad in the last couple of years. In fact, this was the first time I've been filming with a camera bigger than a mirrorless since my Sony FX6 firmware update review 2 years ago. Let's go see how deep it is before I take the camera out. Right, let's find out. Get nice shots at least. Even if I get a bit wet, getting deep. Okay, so far it's cold. That is cold water. Hi Swanee, a bit close to my lens. The image from the 8K camera is absolutely gorgeous. It has an organic quality and it's a dream to grade whether you shoot in D-Log or ProRes RAW at any frame rate and any resolution. I know this isn't how the vast majority of people will use a Ronin 4D, but it works well. With long lenses though, the LiDAR autofocus won't work. It's not just the lens is blocking it, but it only works up to 10 meters. So all the shots with the camera in this video are filmed with manual focus, including the focus pulls to track subjects. I think I did pretty well most of the time. But to show you how smooth the gimbal is with the 4th axis, this is something I shot for the Ronin 4D 6K review. To see a scientific comparison of the 2 sensors' dynamic range and rolling shutter, as well as noise, watch Gerald Undone's superb and of course nerdy video. The 6K camera had a firmware update when the 8K was released, giving it 6K 50p full frame, 17:9, up from 48p, which is great news for me as a 25p PAL shooter. Above that up to 60p, the image is cropped to 2.39:1 still. This is where the 8K camera pulls ahead. You can shoot uncropped full frame 8K up to 60p or 60 frames per second in 1 frame increments. As soon as you go up to 61 all the way to 75 frames per second, it will crop to 2.39:1. To go higher, you need to drop down to 4K. The 6K camera goes up to 120 frames per second, but only in Super 35mm mode, up to 96 frames per second in 17:9, and then above that, it switches to 2.39 to 1. The 8K camera can shoot in 4K full frame up to 120 frames per second, uncropped. Interestingly, in Super 35mm mode, it tops out at 60 frames per second. A significant caveat with the 8K camera is you can only record to the DJI SSDs. CF Express cards and USB-C SSDs are limited to 4K. Another caveat is that to shoot over 8K 30p, you can only shoot in ProRes RAW. The 8K camera currently has the following codecs: ProRes RAW, ProRes HQ, and H.264. The latter can only record in 4K. There are no less data-heavy versions of ProRes, like ProRes LT that the 6K camera has, nor the much bigger and the DaVinci Resolve color grading friendly ProRes 44444 XQ. I don't see DJI adding XQ, as that's way too big for 8K, but I'd like to see them add ProRes LT, ProRes 42, and H.265, which all could be recordable in 8K onto the CF Express card. Maybe. Talking of data sizes, there is something that I hope DJI will address. The 6K camera says it records in ProRes RAW, but it's actually ProRes RAW HQ, which is much more data heavy. The 8K camera does the same, up to 25p. But if you go higher, it drops to standard ProRes RAW. Suddenly you can get almost twice as much footage onto the SSD. Guys, can you please let us have the option to shoot in this normal ProRes RAW in all the frame rates on both cameras? ProRes RAW HQ is way too big for me to edit with and to archive. It's also overkill for most people. There's a new setting that's only available on the 8K camera, and it's called Dynamic Range Expansion. DRE. It increases the dynamic range by about 2/3 of a stop and changes the base ISOs. When it's engaged, they are 800 and 4000. When it's turned off, 320 and 1600. The downsides are it's only available up to 30p, and the other is the rolling shutter readout is slower than the 6K cameras in fact. But when you have it turned off, the rolling shutter readout is very good and better than the 6K one. It's great to have the option for both. If you know there will be lots of fast movements and whip pans, then use the standard mode. Otherwise, turn on DRE. DRE is a great feature to have, and when shooting on a tripod like me, I only turned it off when I wanted to shoot over 30p.
What's your job?
My job, I'm filming Richmond.
Oh, good for you. It's not very place.
Good, lucky you're here then.
I do like video before. TV channel.
Not TV channel, no.
Oh, okay.
No, just
Movie?
myself. No,
Okay.
the movie will be a lot of people, will be hundreds of people, but no, it's just me. I'm just testing this camera out.
Oh, it's really good one.
Yeah, it is very good. I'll tell them that you said it's really good. Thanks. Speaking of low light, I was really impressed with how well it did, especially using DRE with its high base of 4000. The max ISO of 6400 isn't as high as 6K, which goes up to 12800, and that has a high base of 5000. But you can just push it in post and it looks much the same. Even in the standard mode, with its lower base of 1600, it did really well when pushing it. Yeah, it's noisier than the 6K at those ISOs, but it's totally acceptable. Just use a little bit of neat video and it looks great. In these shots I was 120 frames per second in 4K, which can only be done with dynamic range expansion turned off, with that high base at 1600. But I was really happy with the results. I did have to use Digital Anarchy's flicker-free plugin to remove the light interference. And for an 8K edit, I used Topaz Video Enhance AI to upscale the 4K, and it also cleans it up a bit. So if you're looking to upgrade to the 8K, if you can deal with ProRes RAW and the need to use DJI's SSDs, then it's totally worth it. It took them a while to bring the 8K camera to market, but it's finally here, and I am impressed. It's still not super practical using it like I've been here. Now I wonder if they would consider bringing out a cinema camera without the gimbal. The Ronin 1D, one that has all that wireless control, the lovely easy operation, the autofocus LiDAR that even works with manual lenses, and of course that gorgeous 8K image.